Welcome back to another episode of Stay on Target. I'm your host, Dustin. This is a special Barely on Target edition. And with me, I have the librarian. Say hello, librarian.
Hello, good people. Let's get into this.
Who is Barriss Offee?
This republic is failing. It's only a matter of time.
Barriss Offee was in the Clone Wars, first introduced actually in episode 2, Attack of the Clones.
I don't know how much longer I can hold off the Folk, my friends. More and more star systems are joining the Separatists.
She was a Padawan to Master Luminara Unduli. She was a Miri Allen. She was either a Padawan or a Jedi. I'm not sure if she was a Jedi Knight or not, but she was definitely a Jedi during that time. She was friends with Ahsoka. We got to see an interesting arc with her in the Clone Wars that we're going to get into. All right, let's get into it. Point number 5. The Star Wars Databank.
That sounds legit.
Yeah, just recently in the Star Wars Databank, they released this about the new Inquisitor Marrok. They say, once an Inquisitor hunting Jedi for the Empire, the mysterious Marrok now works as a mercenary hired by Morgan Elsbeth to carry out dark deeds. Fully encased in battered battle armor, the warrior still carries a red double-bladed saber with a circular hilt. I find that to be very interesting. They are careful with their wording. They're not using specific genders, so it could be a male or it could be a female. We're unknown. In this case, we think it's a female. The other thing was an Inquisitor. We know things happened with Barriss that we're going to get into that would set her up perfectly to be an Inquisitor. A lot of speculation's been out there. We've not actually seen her as an Inquisitor, but we do believe it's possible that she was an Inquisitor. Plus, she did use 2 red-sided lightsabers at a point. They were not connected. Actually, they do connect. I literally just remembered that.
Asajj?
They were Asajj Ventress's lightsabers.
She does
and
connect them
She
sometimes.
can connect them, and they can be dual-sided. Snap, crackle, poop. Things just come to my mind. I'm Offee my rocker.
Oh, man.
Point number 4, the dark side. She fell to the dark side. She gave up her principles and said the 2 red sabers, which were Asajj Ventress's sabers, suited her, and that trust was overrated when the council only believed in violence. Yeah, so she became disillusioned with the Jedi, and she thought that the Jedi should actually be the ones to stand trial, all of them. She thought they were warmongering, that the Jedi just become a battle force. They weren't doing what they were originally supposed to do, which was keep the peace.
The Jedi are the ones responsible for this war. That we've so lost our way that we have become villains in this conflict. That we are the ones that should be put on trial. All of us.
I could see it both ways. You know, they have to keep the peace by kind of bringing this war to an end as soon as possible. But at the same time, they weren't really supposed to get involved to this level.
Jedis are supposed to be about peace.
Yeah, peace. But sometimes to have peace, there has to be conflict to bring resolution and to be peaceful. She's kind of perfect Inquisitor material for the fact that she was already disillusioned with the Jedi. She thought that they all should stand trial and that they were just warmongers. Basically, at this point, it made sense for her to be an Inquisitor. So that's point number 4. Point number 3, the name. We went over this in a previous video with Ezra, and if you haven't checked that video out, go check it out right now. The name Marrok, again, is an Arthurian legend. It still applies to Barriss in this situation as well, because she, technically, the name comes from an Arthurian legend where an honorable knight, Jedi Knight, so Barriss was technically a Jedi. We're not sure if she was a Jedi Knight. I think she was knighted during the Clone Wars.
I've heard it both ways.
Yeah, that makes sense, librarian. There was a Jedi Knight that was turned into a wolf, or hunter, or inquisitor, which would make sense with Barriss. And she was turned by an enchantress, which we spoke about before, which could be Morgan Elsbeth, coming from Morgan Le Fay in the Arthurian legend. That still applies very well, because even in previously the Star Wars Databank, it says that the mysterious Marrok now works as a mercenary hired by Morgan Elsbeth. So they're all connected there. The Arthurian legend, Morgan Elsbeth, Morgan Le Fay, a knight turned into a hunter inquisitor, still trying to do good potentially because they've lost their way. Just makes sense. That is point number 3. Point number 2, the Fulcrum. And what I mean by Fulcrum is a clever play on words.
Okay.
Because
I'm intrigued.
later, Ahsoka goes by the moniker of Fulcrum. But really, the Fulcrum, the tipping point in Ahsoka's journey in the Jedi, is Barriss. Barriss plays the most pivotal role in Ahsoka leaving the Jedi Temple.
Jedi Order.
Jedi Temple, Jedi Order.
Both.
Yes, very good. If it weren't for Barriss framing Ahsoka on blowing up a part of the temple, she blew up the temple hangar, Barriss did, which is kind of funny in some ways because Barriss believed that the Jedi had just become warmongering,
Right, but she used violence.
But she used violence to get their attention. But it was basically an attack on the Jedi Order, saying that they've gone the wrong way and that they just lead to violence, and that the only thing they can recognize now is violence. So that's when she did what she did. But anyway, her framing Ahsoka in that is why Ahsoka ended up, because of the mistrust that led the council, because the council basically believed that she did it, or were at least confused enough to not know how to proceed, and they were letting the Senate kind of decide a lot of this, or the tribunal. And that disillusionment with the Jedi Council not coming to her aid in this situation ultimately ended up her leaving the Jedi Temple, which in an odd way helped her survive Order 66. So if it weren't for Barriss Offee, or Offee, whichever way you want to say it, Ahsoka wouldn't be around right now. She would have been killed. The last and final point, there are plans for Barriss. There have been plans for Barriss since 2015. Back in 2015, during the Untold Clone Wars panel at Star Wars Celebration Anaheim, he says, and I quote, "In the original script, Barriss died at the end of the episode. She blew up her prison cell and her along with it. But I didn't want that fate for Barriss, so I cut that part, and I had plans for Barriss, and still do. Do Ahsoka and Barriss ever meet again? That's a great question. It would make a great story, but not a story we'll tell today."
Do they ever meet again? That's a great question. Would make a great story probably, but not a story we'll tell today.
That was 8 years ago.
Okay. Are they ready to tell it now?
Are they ready to tell it now? And I think this could be the perfect time to bring Barriss back. What an interesting arc that would be. I do feel like they'd have to explain a lot, but we know there's going to be flashbacks potentially in this with Hayden Christensen and the younger Ahsoka and stuff going on there. So why not have more flashbacks with Barriss and explaining where she's been all this time, or even if it's just a little tease of where she's been this entire time, and maybe they're going to do an offshoot of that, or a one-off episode explaining where she's been. That could be some excellent storytelling. I just think it would be an amazing story arc to see that come full circle. Barriss went to the dark side, basically, and took the wrong actions. She's been an Inquisitor now, and now a mercenary for hire. And then Barriss comes back in the Ahsoka series, and Ahsoka has to help Barriss be redeemed, potentially. and
like it.
lead her on the right path of light and help her come back to what is light. Maybe not necessarily the Jedi Order, but maybe just the light side of the Force, because there's such conflict there, and they were friends. They've been betrayed, but then even in that betrayal, I feel like Ahsoka could forgive and help her overcome that, which would just be such an interesting story arc, I believe. And there's just so much rich history there between Barriss and Ahsoka. It makes sense to see these two fighting again, especially because they're fairly evenly matched, it feels like, in a lot of ways, which
Right.
could lead to why they fight
Similar
more.
age,
Yeah, similar age.
taught the same techniques,
Yeah,
same training at the Jedi Temple.
right.
Yep, that would make for a good story. I want to see it.
I know. That's kind of why everybody's kind of like, this gotta be Barriss, right? But what do you guys think? Are we right? Do you want it to be Barriss? I know a lot of commenters wanted it to be Barriss. A lot of people out there want it to be Barriss. And we could see a case for it here. I personally still think it's Ezra, but we're making the case right now for Barriss. So it could be Barriss. It would be fascinating to see. It would be fun to watch. So let us know in the comments below. Did we get it right? Are we totally wrong? We want to hear from you guys. Thanks for joining us on this Barely on Target edition. We'll catch you next time. Don't forget to always stay on target.